That moment you refresh a page, click add to cart, and watch it spin, and then sold out. If you were one of the thousands of people who tried to get Caitlin Clark's official Nike jersey on drop day, you know exactly what that felt like. And if you missed it, you're probably still a little salty about it. Not because what happened that day wasn't just a jersey selling out. It was a cultural event, a statement, a signal to the entire sports world that something much bigger is happening here, and it's happening fast. We're only a few months into 2026, and already Caitlin Clark is doing things that nobody in women's basketball, and honestly, very few athletes period, have ever done at this speed. But to really understand why that jersey drop hit the way it did, you have to understand who Caitlin Clark has become and how we got here, because this didn't come out of nowhere. There's a whole story behind the phenomenon, and it's one worth telling properly. Let's rewind a little. When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, there was already this enormous wave of attention following her. She had broken records in college that people thought would stand forever. She was electric to watch, fearless in her shot selection, calm under pressure, and carrying this rare quality that the greatest athletes all seem to share, the ability to make every single person in the arena believe something special is about to happen. That energy doesn't fade when the cameras come on. If anything, it amplifies, and the league felt it immediately. Attendance records started falling. Broadcasts that were barely getting noticed were suddenly pulling in numbers that had people doing double takes. Her games became events, not just games, events. The kind where people who don't usually follow basketball are texting their friends asking where to watch. That shift was real, and Nike noticed. Nike always notices. The brand has a long history of spotting athletes who exist at the intersection of sport and culture. People who don't just compete, but connect. And Clark checked every single box. So when the talks about a signature line started getting serious, and when her official WNBA jersey was finally ready to drop, there was already an ecosystem of hype that had been quietly building for months. Fans had been speculating in forums, in comment sections, on social media. What would the design look like? Would the CC logo be front and center? What colorways were coming? The energy before the drop was almost like the pre-game atmosphere. At a sold-out arena, restless, electric, a little anxious. And then the drop happened. The website went live, and within seconds, not minutes, seconds, traffic spiked to levels that the servers weren't fully prepared for. Pages started, loading slow, carts were freezing. The checkout process became this frantic race where people were clicking as fast as they could, praying the item stayed in their cart long enough to complete the purchase. Some people made it, most didn't. Within what felt like no time at all, every size across every style had disappeared, gone, and the reactions online were something else entirely. Social media lit up in waves. First came the celebrations from the people who managed to snag one. Screenshots of order confirmations, people hyped beyond belief, posting their wins like they just hit a game-winning shot themselves. Then came the second wave, the frustration. Thousands of fans sharing their stories of being one click away, one loading screen too slow, one freezing card away from getting theirs. And it wasn't just casual complaints. People were genuinely emotional about it, because for a lot of Clark's fan base, this wasn't just about owning a piece of merchandise. It was about being part of something, owning a physical piece of a moment that felt historic. That's a specific kind of connection that you really can't manufacture. Either it's there or it isn't. And with Clark, it absolutely is there. But here's the part that the raw excitement sometimes overshadows. This jersey drop wasn't accidental. Nike has been in the business of creating cultural moments long enough to know exactly how to engineer hype. The limited availability, the carefully timed marketing, the social media buildup, none of that is random. It's a calculated strategy designed to do precisely what it did: create scarcity, drive demand, dominate the conversation, and it worked perfectly. When something sells out in minutes, it doesn't just disappear from the news cycle, it becomes the news cycle. Every person who missed out becomes an involuntary advertisement, sharing their story, spreading the name, keeping the brand alive in conversations for days afterward. Nike has done this with Jordan, with LeBron, with Kobe. The playbook is tried and tested, but applying it to a WNBA athlete at this level and having it work this well, that's genuinely new territory. That tells you something about where Clark sits in the cultural landscape right now. Analysts who study sports marketing have been watching this closely, and the language they're using isn't cautious or measured. It's bold. They're not saying Clark has the potential to become a global icon. They're saying she's already becoming one, right in front of our eyes. The jersey drop is just one data point in a much larger pattern. Look at her social media following. Look at the demographics of who's tuning in to watch her play. The age ranges, the geographic spread, the people who are coming to basketball for the first time because of her. The crossover appeal is enormous. She's pulling in sports fans, fashion, fans, people who are drawn to her story, people who respect the competitive edge. That's a rare combination and brands recognize it, which brings us to what everyone is really waiting for. Because as massive as the jersey drop was, it might genuinely be a warm-up act. The talk about Caitlin Clark's signature shoe has been building steadily, and the expectations around it are reaching a level that puts serious pressure on everyone involved: Nike's design team, the marketing department, and Clark herself. A signature shoe is a different kind of statement than a jersey. It's personal. It carries the athlete's identity in a way that a team jersey never fully can. When the greats, Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, launched their signature lines, those moments became turning points, not just in their careers, but in the culture. The shoes became symbols. And there's a real sense that a Caitlin Clark signature shoe has the potential to do something similar, especially if it launches in the right cultural moment with the right design and the right story behind it. The demand is clearly there. The jersey proved that beyond any doubt. The question now is how Nike packages that moment and whether the shoe can live up to or even surpass the frenzy that the jersey created. Based on everything we've seen so far, betting against Clark hasn't exactly been a winning strategy. There's something else worth talking about here though, and it connects to a bigger picture that goes beyond sneakers and jerseys. What Clark's rise represents is a shift in how people are engaging with women's sports. A real, tangible, measurable shift. It's not about a single good season or a viral moment. It's about sustained attention, sustained growth, sustained cultural relevance. The sponsorships, the sold-out arenas, the merchandise frenzies, they're all symptoms of something deeper. People are invested, emotionally, financially, culturally invested, and that investment is compounding. Every record she breaks, every iconic game moment, every sold-out drop adds another layer to the story. And stories, when they're this good, tend to keep going. They build on themselves. So when you zoom out and look at where things stand right now, at the beginning of 2026, you see an athlete who entered professional basketball with enormous expectations and has somehow managed to not just meet them, but consistently push past them. That's genuinely hard to do. The pressure that comes with that kind of spotlight would crack most people. Clark seems to use it as fuel, and that quality, that ability to rise when the moment gets biggest, is exactly what separates good athletes from legendary ones. The jersey sold out in minutes. The signature shoe is coming. The story is nowhere near finished. In fact, if you've been paying attention, it feels less like we're watching the peak of something and more like we're watching the beginning. And beginnings, when they look like this, are worth watching very closely. Because what Caitlin Clark is building right now, on the court, with Nike, in the culture, has the potential to rewrite what's possible for athletes and women's sports for a long time to come. And honestly, if this is just the start, the next few years are going to be something else entirely.